Welcome to the Seeing Red podcast.
It's another edition here of the Seeing Red podcast. My name is Troy Moriello, and I am your host, bringing you up to date and up to speed on all things St. John's basketball. And we have our annual St. John's season preview, the third year we are doing this, kicking off year 3 of this podcast. Delighted as always to be joined by Zach Braziller. And delighted as always to kick off another season, our third season, and a season that has been going to be unlike any we have ever seen or any that we will see. Completely unpredictable, but that's kind of what makes it fun. So let's get right into the interview with Zach Braziller of the New York Post. Hope you guys enjoy. All right, I'm now joined year 3 of him coming on this podcast to preview the St. John's basketball season. It is the great Zach Braziller of the New York Post. Zach, thank you so much for coming on and joining us today.
What's up, Troy? I want to start calling you the great Troy because your podcast, I think people really like it. You're doing a really good job.
Thank you. I appreciate that coming from you for sure. So this is year 3 for you on this podcast. How many years has it been for you covering St. John's? I'm curious about that.
So I was there for Omaha, and that was 4 years. Anderson's 5. So this will be my 8th year because I was there for the last 2. And so this will be my 8th year.
8 years.
Wow, I didn't realize it took that long.
Yeah, I was going to say never a dull moment, right, with St. John's. It's never a dull moment.
You know what? With Anderson, there are actually dull moments. You know, that's the good thing.
That's true.
They're a little boring.
Yeah,
It's
less drama for sure.
It's a bad thing.
Yeah, little more stability, a little less drama. That you're right. That can be a good thing from time to time for sure. Let's get into it though. I mean, I hate to start on kind of a low note, but we've seen so many positive cases coming up, so many teams having to go on this 2-week pause, which, as you mentioned, I think a couple of weeks ago, it's almost more like a 3-week pause, I think, with all the tests that you have to do afterwards. If they're going to stick to this 2-week pause whenever you have any positive cases, and we talked about off air, I mean, teams are going to get positive cases. How do they expect to get through a full season with this type of rule in place? I mean, do you just think teams are going to play 15 games total for the season? How do they expect to get through it?
Yeah, I mean, look, the NCAA put in the 13-game minimum for a reason. I think people are forgetting that.
Yeah.
There's a 13-game minimum, and now look, it's an NCAA guideline. It's not a rule. Mm-hmm. And I believe because the Big Ten and the Pac-12 are doing daily testing, that they're a little different in terms of their the time away. I think Cal had positive tests. They were only off for a few days. So those leagues are different because they are doing daily testing, and it's all about following your CDC guidelines and your state regulations. But for a lot of these, the Big East is going to abide by this. I mean, I think they're, the good thing is you're seeing a lot of these programs getting it early. I think that's the thing that you're going to look at. If the program has a bunch of guys test positive and they're just, and they're okay, asymptomatic. Yeah. I think they're kind of in the clear somewhat for a while. But I mean, I think everyone just has to accept that this season is just not gonna be a normal season. You're gonna have teams that aren't gonna play games for 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, much like college football.
That's just what it is. I mean, I said this for college football when I talk to you, and I'm saying the same thing now. Just gotta be happy with what you have.
Yeah, seriously.
I mean, if it's 17 games, be happy with it. 15 games, be happy with it. But in terms of St. John's, I think one real good thing is this is a program now that has run like a tight ship. You have Mike Anderson. They have strict rules, strict protocols. They haven't had a single player test positive since the players came on campus, back on campus in August. There was one guy who tested positive just from he had it from before.
Okay.
But like nobody's tested positive since they've been back.
Okay.
So far, like look, we don't know. You can do everything right, and you can still get it.
Mm-hmm.
But you still have to do everything right to put yourself in a good position. And so far, they're doing a really good job. They're being very responsible. So, so far, if you're St. John's fan, you got to be really happy with just how they've handled themselves.
Definitely. Do you see the Big East? I mean, I know you were tweeting about Val Ackerman talking about potentially doing a bubble. Is that something that you see as a real possibility for like January or February, going to Mohegan Sun? Maybe I would assume Mohegan Sun, trying to get as many games in as possible, and obviously making it much easier. Is that something that you think is going to happen, or would you say no? Like, what's the % chance you would put on that?
I think they would at least do 1-2 week bubble.
Okay.
Yes. I'm not saying it'll be all one site. I think if I had to guess, it'll be 2 regional sites.
Okay.
But yeah, I think they will do one. I think you can see it in February when you have students back on campus.
Yeah.
Because right now, I mean, that's the hope for all of college athletics, college football, college basketball, that now that students are gone for this extended winter break, that with less kids around and less opportunities to do stupid stuff, party and all that, that you're going to see fewer transmission and, the virus not spread quite as much. So that's the hope. And so, I mean, just that's my guess is that's what they would prefer, just limit it to 1-2 week thing maybe in February. But if the cases get worse, if their jurisdictions get worse where they can't even play games, then I think you might see it in January too. At least give them credit. It's at least like on the table. I mean, I haven't heard of any other conferences that have even really discussed it.
And it's a good idea, yeah.
I mean, so the Big East is at least very forward thinking and
proactive.
Something they can do.
Definitely.
I don't think they want to do it. It doesn't seem like something they prefer to do, but they also understand it's something that they might have to do. So my guess is that at least they do 1-2 week thing, probably in 2 different bubbles with the Northeast teams and the Midwest teams.
That makes sense, yeah.
And the other thing I think that people don't quite realize is it's not going to be a global schedule. Like, we could see St. John's and Seton Hall, St. John's and Connecticut, St. John's and Providence play 4 times.
Yeah, that's true.
This is all about getting games in and getting sparks. But then she made it clear this week with their basic. I know they're not calling it a bubble, but it's a bubble.
Yeah.
The NCAA tournament is going to be a bubble. They don't want to use the word. They're going to say controlled environment, but it's a bubble. And the fact that they're already in the process of finding a city and setting this up, it makes it just so clear they're determined to have a tournament. And they're going to do whatever they can just to get the march.
Well, yeah, they need to have a tournament this year. They can't, like, from a financial standpoint, they need to have a tournament, right? Like, it would kill them if they didn't have one.
Yeah, there's no doubt they need to do it. And, they're going to do it.
Yeah, they're going to get to it.
They've already said, look, you only play 13 games to be eligible. I don't really understand how you're going to select teams that way, but they're going to figure it out, and they're going to do it. It's going to be, it's not going to be any kind of a normal season, but they're determined to have some kind of a season.
On that bubble thought, on the non-normal season thought, there's going to be no home court advantage this season. We know that. I think Butler is the only team in the Big East that's actually having fans, which is crazy, but they're the only one that's actually having fans.
I think Xavier.
Oh, Xavier too. Okay.
100 fans at the beginning.
Okay.
But yeah, Butler's, I guess, going to have, I mean, it's surprising. I would have thought Creighton would definitely do it, but they're not going to have fans.
Okay.
Speaks volumes.
And obviously none of the Northeast schools. So, but I mean, the lack of a home court advantage, I've been thinking, and maybe this is just me being an optimistic St. John's fan, does that kind of play into their favor a little bit, maybe, when you think, that game against, let's say, Seton Hall, or that game against Villanova, or even against Georgetown or Providence, let's say. I mean, like, Villanova would be favored against St. John's, in the Wells Fargo Center, in the Madison Square Garden, on Mars. They would be favored against St. John's. but that, lack of having the opposing team's fans maybe at the Garden where you've seen it, it's 50-50 sometimes. Sometimes it's, 60-40 Villanova or 60-40 Georgetown. Does that kind of help St. John's a little bit, do you think, that there is no, opposing team kind of coming into the Garden and taking it over like we've seen in years? Have you given any thought to that or no?
I think it helps them on the road, and it probably hurts them at home. And don't forget, last year they played their best at Carter-Secca.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm.
The Creighton game. There are a few others.
Providence, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they did start to develop a really good home court advantage at Carter-Secca. Mm-hmm. So I think it will hurt them there,
mm-hmm.
but it'll definitely help them on the road.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I think you could probably make that point for a lot of teams.
Yeah.
At home, it's going to hurt them, but on the road, it'll help them.
Mm-hmm.
Look at Rutgers. Rutgers had such a great home court advantage last year.
Mm-hmm.
Now that'll be
gone.
Yeah, they were terrible on the road, and now that won't be nearly as difficult.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I still think there will be some home court advantage. Players are more comfortable in your own building. You're not traveling. So there's going to be somewhat of an advantage. But I do think it will certainly help them on the road, and it hurts them at home.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think it's gonna be very interesting to see, from which teams, take advantage of the kind of sterile settings.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's hard to predict, really.
Yeah, seriously. Mm-hmm. Let's stick with the Big East for a second. You don't have to give me your 1 through 11 here, but the way that I see it, you kind of look and you say, well, Villanova's probably going to be 1, Creighton's probably going to be 2, in some order. I think 3, 4, and 5 will likely be some order of Seton Hall, Providence, and UConn in that order. And we kind of know that Georgetown and DePaul are probably going to be 10 and 11 or near the bottom of the conference. That leaves 6, 7, 8, and 9 kind of wide open. I think there's a razor-thin margin, really, between St. John's, Marquette, Xavier, and Butler, I think. And you look at the Big East, in years past, it's been 5, 6, 7 teams getting into the tournament. Is that kind of how you would handicap it as well, where, 6 through 9 is really wide open like we've kind of seen in years past? Is that how you would put it?
Yeah, to an extent. I think Georgetown's clearly the worst team in the league.
Uh-huh.
They're one of the worst Power 5, if not the worst Power 5 teams in the country this year. I don't think people realize how bad they're going to be. They figured, think about it, they lost. They didn't really add too much.
Yeah.
Except for marginal players. They lost. Just think about the team they finished with last year.
Yeah.
They lost a few of those guys, and they were basically playing 6 guys.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think Georgetown's going to be really bad.
Mm-hmm.
I think people are too high on Creighton. I think Tyshawn Alexander is a bigger loss than a lot of people realize.
Mm-hmm.
He was by far their best defender.
Mm-hmm.
He was what made their defense good.
Mm-hmm.
And usually they usually don't play defense.
Mm-hmm.
That's what made them so good last year. Is for exchange, they mixed in a terrific offense with a quality defense.
Mm-hmm.
And now without him, he's the reason they swept Seton Hall.
Mm-hmm.
Was his defense on Miles Howell.
Mm-hmm.
Without him, I think their defense is going to take a big hit. And I still think they're good. I think they're a top 15 to 20 team, but I don't think they're anywhere close to a top 10 team that a lot of people see.
Yeah.
So I do think you have to give them 9 for 2, but I don't think they're in Villanova's class. I think they're a lot closer to Seton Hall, Providence, UConn than number 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then I agree with you. I think 6 to 9 is. I think Butler is probably 9. I don't understand how coaches pick them over St. John's. I think St. John's clearly better than Butler.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think they could definitely finish 6th. They could absolutely finish 6th.
Mm-hmm.
No question about it.
And when
I think they're right there.
Yeah.
With those two.
And when you look at that, and if you think 6th place could be a possible bubble tournament team, I think when you look at St. John's, obviously this year is going to be so crazy. There has to be at least some thought of an NCAA tournament appearance, right? Just the way that they finished last season, not losing all that much from last year's team. Obviously, LJ is a loss, but you can debate how big of a loss that really is. There has to be some sort of a tournament hopes, right?
Yeah, look, that's. I asked Mike Anderson that recently. Like, do you have expectations in the tournament? He's like, that's our expectations every year.
Yeah.
There's no doubt they think they can make the tournament. Mm-hmm. Now, our preview comes out Wednesday. I'm not going to give it away.
No.
But I do think they will be in the mix.
Uh-huh.
I'm not saying they will or they won't make it, but I completely think they will be in the mix. They lost LJ. There's no doubt he's a loss. Now, we could all go back and talk about his season. It wasn't great.
No.
I thought he shocked them out of more games than he won. But he was a good defender for the most part. He was the guy that teams game plan for. I think he made life easier for everyone else because he was the one who got all the attention, even though he did maybe take bad shots. So they'll miss him. I think they're going to miss Rutherford too. I don't think people talk about that enough.
No, I agree.
He was a guy that had a hand in all their big wins, with his on-ball defense.
Yeah.
But there's no doubt he had a lot of short hurries offensively. He couldn't really shoot. But he was a factor. Now they do add a lot. I mean, to me, it's a really hard team to read. I could see them being much better than people realize. I could see them maybe even being a little worse.
Yeah.
I really don't know what to expect when you combine the weirdness of the season with all the new guys that are bringing in and counting on, the heightened expectations for some of the returners. No exhibition needed, no scrimmages. It's a really hard team for me to predict.
Definitely the hardest offseason in a while to really pick this team up. You talked about kind of expecting guys to step up there. I mean, one thing that I noticed Anderson say, I think it was at Big East Media Day, he mentioned, his easiest teams to defend have been his teams that have had only those one or two scoring options. And this time last year, we were really saying that about St. John's. If LJ didn't score, if Heron didn't score, where were they going to get their points from? This year's not the case. I mean, I see that the balanced offense being a good thing, but kind of who do you see really stepping up to fill that LJ and Heron role? I think you're high on Greg Williams, but who are some guys that you see to step up and really fill at least a scoring output from those two guys?
Yeah, I mean, what Anderson said was interesting because remember, this team really started to take off once Heron got hurt and was done for the year. They played their best without him. When you had other guys, when you had Marcellus emerge, when you had Greg and Julian started playing really well, that's when this team became really difficult. Is because you had multiple guys. I think it's, in terms of returns, I think it's the normal guys. I've heard Julian's look great so far. Greg is taking a steal. How I think about Greg, it's just about consistency and confidence. All the talent in the world to be one of the better guards in this league. Yeah. He just needs to have that self-belief and that aggressive nature that is sometimes lacking. And I'll tell you, Posh Alexander, from everything I've heard and seen, is going to be could be the best player on this team. I mean, in that scrimmage the other day that they televised, he was absolutely terrific. Everyone raves about him. I'm not saying he's going to score 50 points a game. That's not where his value will be. Yeah. It's going to be running the team. It's going to be his defense. It's going to be his ability in transition. Everyone forgets this is a top 75 kid before he got hurt. And, he, for whatever reason, never got back into the rankings. But, I mean, he's been everything and more they expected so far. You would think Posh will be the guy who makes the biggest impact, at least the guys coming in, the new guys. Of the other guys, I know that you love Toro. I think Dylan Wusu could be a really good Big East player as well. Just looking at the type of game that he plays, I think he fits into Anderson's system well. You have Moore and you have Vince Cole, who everyone's high on Vince Cole. Of the other newcomers, who's the one that you see making really the biggest impact on this team? I mean, so far, I didn't think I would be saying this, but I think it's Moore.
Okay.
I mean,
he's kind of come out of nowhere, yeah.
I did a practice. I saw that scrimmage. Yeah. I mean, it does look a lot like Rico. He dunks everything. He's got super length. He's super athletic. He runs the floor. I think he's going to be really good. I really do. I mean, he's really impressed. Now, look, Cole missed 3 weeks with a knee injury, and he thought. I don't think he's going to make an impact maybe some people think, but I do think he's going to fill a major need as a shooter. He can really shoot. But I don't know if he's the all-around talent that people kind of think when they say first team to the college All-American. Yeah. I'm just now maybe part of that is he's had some injuries and he's kind of working his way back. There's no doubt though he's going to be a valuable player and someone who can stretch the floor. Toro, they really like. Kind of like Posh. I don't know if Toro's going to make that much of an impact as a scorer.
Okay.
I think the little things, his rebounding, his help defense,
which they need. Yeah.
You know, his leadership are going to be really, really big things. And then on Wusu, it's going to take time, but I just like his patience. When you watch him play, he's professional. He doesn't force it. He plays hard. He draws charges, and he understands just to let the game come to him. Which for a freshman coming from not exactly, I mean, I say Loser is a good program, but they're not necessarily known for producing necessarily polished guys.
Yeah.
But he really seems like a kid that's well schooled, because what I like the most is just his patience, which is something, like I said, you don't necessarily always see from young guys.
If this team's going to be good this year, what we hope to be a tournament team, I think, like you mentioned, I think it's going to be the depth that they have, way more scoring options and just way more options, and the size. I mean, you look at last year's team, it was Sears and it was Ian Steer, really, were two of the biggest guys on the team, and neither one of them was really anything worth holding on to. You look at this team this year, obviously with Toro, with Moore, it just seems like the size is going to be a lot better, and I would hope that the rebounding would be better, just based on the guys that they have. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I think, and you got to look at this year too. In the weirdest of this year is you're going to have weeks where you're going to play 3 or 4 games.
Yeah,
depth is going to be so important. And this is a team that's going to be, they can play 11 or 12 guys. Yeah, I mean, we haven't mentioned Josh, who
Josh too.
Put on muscle and then looked improved. I mean, you have some legit options, and then you look at a guy like Cole, who's 6'5". Wusu is 6'3", 6'4", and he's built like a linebacker. So you have, a team that looks more like a legit high major team than maybe they did last year, with their length, their strength, with their size. He can go real small. He can go big. He can go with athletes. Yeah, he's got a lot more options. And I think, this is going to be a team where you're going to get 20 points scorers. You're probably, on the best nights, you're going to get 4 or 5 guys scoring between 12 and 14 points.
Yeah, which is exactly what you want. Let's talk about the lineups before I let you go. What do you see as the, night one, Wednesday night, they kick off the season or tip off the season? What do you see as the starting 5? Where do you see each guy fitting in?
For a while I was convinced it was going to be Posh, Greg, Machine Gun, Julian, and Toro. I think it's still probably going to be that. Okay. But I would not be surprised if Moore somehow pushes his way in. Just because of how well he's playing.
Okay.
No, it doesn't. With this team, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, yeah.
He's going to play a ton of guys. He's going to play probably minimum 9 to 10 guys, a night. And it's really that whoever's playing well is going to finish. But I know people are always hung up that. I was convinced that was going to be the 5 for a while. Yeah. But just how well Moore is playing just kind of makes me think maybe he does start it. Maybe he puts Rasheem or Greg to the bench. Maybe he puts Toro on the bench. I think it's something it's probably going to fluctuate just because of how much depth and how much balance this team has.
Yeah, Is there someone, because we always talk about that, you just mentioned it. I mean, it's really more who finishes the game for St. John's. Who do you see, at least at the start of the season, being that guy that they're going to go to in crunch time, that they're going to go to for the big shot down the stretch? Is it Rasheem just based on, seniority? Could you see it being, game to game, whoever has the hot hand? Like, where would you say the big shots are going to come from, at least early in the season?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be one guy. I really don't. I heard Julian look great in practice, but he's not necessarily a guy that you're just going to go to create a shot.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be Rasheem or Posh creating and breaking the defense down and going from there. That's kind of the way I see it. I mean, I don't think it's going to be like, all right, we're going to set up a play to get the ball out. It's just, I don't think that's what you're looking at. I think it's going to be one of their guards, trying to get into the paint and finding someone to take a shot. I think that's what this team is going to be this year. You're not going to have one guy. That's what this team's strength is going to be. Defenses aren't going to just say, all right, we got to focus on these 2 guys. That's or a bad thing, honestly. But that's, I think, the reality of the situation.
I want to word this correctly because I don't want you to give away anything about your preview coming up. How many? I don't want to say how many wins because I don't even know how many games that we're going to play.
That's the problem.
Yeah, how many games over 500? I mean, I'm assuming you think they'll at least be over 500. Anderson's obviously never had a below 500 team. How many games above 500 do you see this team? I mean, I'm assuming you think that they're kind of a bubble team. If you had to kind of handicap that, what would you say?
Well, let's go this way. If they played 20 league games, I think they would have a very good shot to win 10 or 11.
Okay, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
You know, which if you play 20 league games and you get to 10, you're probably going to make the tournament right there. That's, you know, I think a 500 record in the league would be fair. If you're playing a regular season, a 500 record in the league probably gets you to 21 wins, which probably gets you to the tournament.
And people, I think, forget. I mean, this team last year won, 17 games? And how many games did they just completely give away in the final couple minutes, you know, between Georgetown, between even that Seton Hall game, that Butler game? This team could have won 20 games last year. And as we've been saying, I mean, they return a lot of guys. So I don't think that's crazy out of the picture to say, you know, in a normal season, they'd be a 10, 11 win team.
No, I mean, and you got to think about too. I mean, they won 17, but like, how many were they going to win?
Yeah.
They were going to win. For argument's sake, let's say they had won the Creighton game and lost that Friday night. They're at 18. They won an NIT. Yeah. Maybe you win 19. Maybe you win a game or two. I mean, so they would have, you know, my guess probably would have finished with around 19, maybe. And then, I mean, there were like three games they absolutely just blew. If they would have won at least maybe 2 or 3 of them, actually been on the NCAA tournament bubble during the Big East tournament. You know, it's a really interesting team. It really is. I mean, it's very interesting. And then you look to the future where they have a few of these recruits coming in. Yeah. And then the whole thing is everyone can come back now with the rules. So it's a very bizarre time in college sports. It really is. You know, it's a very interesting team. Like I said, not a lot would surprise me. I could see them being better than they are. Than people think you're making the tournament comfortably. I could see them being an NIT team and not really even sniffing. Like, to me, it's just such a wide range of what can happen with this team because there are a lot of questions.
Absolutely, and we're not really going to get any answers until the season actually tips off. It's a season unlike any other, as we've been saying. It's going to be totally unpredictable. I'm excited for it. I know that you're excited for it. Thank you as always for coming on, Zach. I really appreciate it. You know, you giving me the time, and you know, best of luck along the way, man.
I just, you know, hopefully we get a representative season. I mean, that to me is the word. Yeah. That everyone should use. It's not. Don't even do normal. Just being representative. You know that. You know, it's just not going to be. You know, it's just what it is. Everything we get, we should just be happy for, and you know, enjoy.
Let's just get to the tournament.
Yes, absolutely. Let's just get to Mars.
All right, Zach. Thank you so much as always, man. You know I always appreciate this.
Be well.
All right, have a good one. And one more thank you there to Zach Braziller of the New York Post for being generous to give us a little bit of time here before the season starts. And with that, the 2020-21 season is almost officially here. A couple more days before St. John's kicks off the season with their 2 games in 2 days. One on Wednesday and then one on Thanksgiving on Thursday. Hopefully we'll be doing a show some point in the after one of those 2 games. We'll probably do one maybe Friday. We'll have it out for everyone. And we will, you know, kick off the season then. Got some interesting games coming up, some interesting non-conference games. Obviously, you have to circle that one against Boston College, that one against Texas Tech as the kind of interesting ones. But just excited to have basketball again. Hopefully, we cross our fingers. We pray if we're into that we get a normal season, that we stay healthy, you know, all of us, but obviously the team as well, that we're able to play these games and that we're able to get off a somewhat normal non-conference and then a somewhat normal Big East season, regular season as well, and then get into the NCAA tournament. And hopefully that NCAA tournament features St. John's this season. I think that there's reason to hope for the tournament this year. We don't know if it's going to happen. Obviously, this team is so unpredictable. It could really go either way, but so much about this year, especially in the sporting world, has been unpredictable. So we'll find out. About 48 hours from now, we will find out. Thank you all for listening. I'll be back later this week and kick off the season. As always, let's go Johnnies.